morning, pottery peeps. I am doing a fairy house today. Actually, I'm doing probably 9. I have an order for 7, and it's always smart. You never know what's going to happen in the kiln, especially if you saw the last kiln uploading. To do more than what you were asked to do, because kiln gods sometimes take a sacrifice. And this is a Christmas order from a friend of mine who has ordered 7 fairy houses, and she wants this fairy house, which is stinking adorable. Let me show you. So we're gonna attempt to make this. It might be a 2-parter because this is actually one of the more complicated fairy houses that I do. So it sits on the flowers and all the flowers are hand done. I do have a cookie cutter that helps me with one of them, but I will show you how I make the flowers. And then this has got a hole in it, so you can do a candle or you can put little lights in it and so forth. So I will show you how I attempt to make these. And like I said, it might be a 2-parter because these guys take a little time. And they take even more time to glaze them than it does to make them. So I've got a couple of tools that help me out. Let me get you down here so you can see what I got going on here. All right, hopefully you can see there. Okay, so the first thing I do, I've actually done this kind of like a cooking class, so we have some stuff already pre-prepared because otherwise we'd be here for 4 or 5 hours. Because it usually takes me about 4 hours to make one. So this is Michael Harbridge. I love his forms. If I can get it together right. Here we go. So this is one of his circular forms. I'm not sure the size of it. Let me measure it for you really quick. I got a whole bunch of his in different sizes. Be helpful if I was just teaching pumpkins, so I don't have everything in order. I had it all sitting out here. But okay, so this is probably the 5-inch or 5 1/4. I don't know if you can see that, inch wide. I use this one a lot for fairy houses. Okay, so the first thing I do is I've got a slab already here, and I am going to fill this in. Now, I do take this big cookie cutter and kind of cut it, but you can't like take this big piece and just shove it in there because then the middle gets too thin. So you get a piece fit. So what I do is I will cut it in half, piece it around the edge, just kind of form it into the edge there. And you don't have to be real careful with this because I'll show you also what I end up doing. So I'm just going to put the slabs of clay in there, trying not to thin them down, okay? Because I really don't want them thin. Because then when you start adding things to your fairy house, it collapses on you. So then I'll take a strip. And you can do this any way you want. You could roll this texture into this and put pieces in. Michael Harbridge actually has some videos out there on puzzle piecing, which is what he does with these molds. And really, fairy houses especially, they're so cool because you can do so much, so many different things with them, decorate them, build them, so many different ways. But for the actual fairy house, I want it, this is probably a 1/4 inch to 3/8. I think it was 3/8 when I rolled it out on the slab roller, and then by the time I smooth it, it's a little thinner. But I do want the house itself to be fairly substantial because it's going to get a lot of decoration. All right, so I mean that's where I'm at right now. So then I just take and fill in the parts that need more clay, and I smooth them together, okay? So the inside will be all smoothed together. And then of course you're going to have lines on the outside of the house that you'll smooth after. And I'm going to attempt to show you that. We'll see. I know I won't be able to. This is going to have to stiffen up for me to really work on it. So basically I'm just puzzling pieces into the mold and smoothing them out so they're all joined. You don't have to slip and score if your clay is wet. Mine just came right out of the bag, was just rolled out, so it's fine. So you don't have to do any of that, which is helpful because then you can move a little faster. So I'm going to add a little bit here. Okay. So I've got the actual circle covered. Just smooth that all out. And then I'm going to come in and cut all my excess away on the form. Banding wheels getting away from me here. I actually love making these fairy houses. I hate to glaze them, but I love making them. So I make actually quite a few. And this is the first time I've actually made some that are similar. I tried to make them all individual, but she actually bought that fairy house last year. She's such an amazing woman. She gives me her Christmas list February or March. So I have all year to work on it, and this is the last that I need to get done. It's a fairly substantial Christmas list. She is together. One of these days I plan to hopefully be as together as she is. She's done Christmas shopping usually by June. Okay, so I've got this one done. I already did this one, so you didn't have to wait through me doing both. And then I'm going to take more of my slab, and I'm just going to do strips. Marco Harbridge will do a coil, but I'm going to do strips. And so I'm just going to put kind of like a flange up here around everything except for the hole. And this is how we will connect these two pieces together, okay? So smooth that down on the one side. Okay, the bending wheel's driving me nuts here because it's just spinning. So I will smooth this all the way around so it's got a good connection on the one side. Make sure those are connected since they're two pieces. Okay, so I've got a really good connection. I'm going to fold this in. So it's kind of like that. And then I will bring this guy, line him up, and push it together. And then all his forms come with Velcro strap. Actually, let me put it to where it's not going to move here on the bottom, not roll around on me. And then I will strap it together. And then I will leave it to stiffen up a little bit. I want a soft leather hard is what I like. So I'll go ahead and reach in here as far as I can with my finger, and I will join that little flange part, that little ribbon, to the other side. And you basically are doing this blind. And then he has a tool, and where did I put it? Sure, have everything ready to go and don't have the tool. Aha! Actually got put away. So he's got this really handy dandy stick that's got a nice little flashlight on it that you can stick in here and see what you're doing. And you can reach that bottom. And so I'm just gonna press that clay, and of course you can't see what I'm doing. And I think I need new batteries for my flashlight. I used this guy quite a bit actually. I used to build all these forms myself. Now there is a way you can do this yourself. You can do this with a pinch pot method. So if you did a pinch pot, you would do like 2 rounded sides, or you can actually cut 2 circles, fold them up, and then join them in the middle and make yourself a sphere. Or do it with a pinch pot. you know, and it would look really great because the nice thing about, to me, the nice thing about fairy houses is they're irregular, they're nature. I like the idea that the fairies are living in this house from the materials they found in the forest. It's not like they went to Home Depot, you know? And so I like a very, whoops. I'm just gonna show you what this looks like on the outside. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You can see the lines. So I will come in after it stiffens up. I don't like to do it now because it I can collapse it. So I would come in with a scoring tool and I'd rough up those joints, okay? So if you just, I'm just doing this really careful. When it's more, when it's stiffened up a little bit more, it's a lot easier. And then I would come in with the metal rib and smooth that line down. And then when I'm all done doing that, I would hit it with a sponge and so forth. But I'm not going to do that right now because this really needs to stiffen up. And like I said, I kind of have to make 9 of these, 7 for Lynn and 2 for, hopefully the other 2 will make it, but just in case. So this guy gets set over here. And with the magic of television, I have already prepared one. So this is actually one I did last night. So it's a complete sphere, okay? I did take this cookie cutter and make a better hole and just kind of lined it up and then cut the hole out so that I have a better place to put candles or lights, just a better opening. So this is our basic sphere. And looks like he's got a little dent there. So this actually might have set up more than I wanted. But I can always spray it down a little bit, wrap it back up if it's too, I think it'll be all right. Okay, let me actually grab a bat. Let's see. So I'm going to work here. Now, I have a bunch of silicone molds that I like that work really good, and I'll show you a trick on how to do these. So here's a door, and I just got these off of Amazon. They're for cake decorating, and they work great. So here's a little window, here's a door, here's another door, another little window. This makes a great little shutter by cutting it in half, or actually there's the shutter. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do this. It's limited to your imagination. You can sculpt the door you want and so forth. With something like this that I'm doing, I actually use the molds and it works really well. So when you're using silicone molds, you can do cornstarch, but I'm reusing my clay all the time, and the cornstarch tends to dry out my clay, just like, you know, pie crust and flour, same concept. So I tend to hit it with some cooking spray, will not hurt the clay, and then I will dab the leftover cooking spray out, just so it's not, you know, greasy. And then here's some of my leftover slab bits. So I'm going to roll this with my little pony roller into the mold. And I have done a lot of these up so that you can, I mean, this video would be forever long if I didn't prepare all of this. So I want to make sure that that clay is in there really good. If you have a spot that seems thin, just add a little bit of clay to it. Okay. And I also got to make sure you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay. So then I usually slap it out and I peel this back like that. So now I have a door. And then I cut the door. Now if there's lines from the clay, like I got a couple of lines on my stones, I don't really worry about that because it actually adds. When the glaze hits that, it's going to look, the stones are going to look older. It just gives it a little bit more texture. So there is no perfection in pottery, at least not in my studio. we celebrate the imperfections, because the imperfections, it's all about, I think the imperfections is where the art comes in. If it's too perfect, you might as well buy a resin mold fairy house versus one that is hand built with all the fun personality. So now that I've got that, score the back of it. Oh, you know what? I got ahead of myself. We got to do something else first. So anyway, that's how you do a door. But we'll go ahead and put that under plastic because I completely forgot this one. We need to do the roof. So on this fairy house, I did a thatched roof. So let me show you how to do that first, because we need to have the thatch roof so we know. Actually, move this guy over here so we know where to put our door and windows. It's kind of a little hobbit house. It has a little hobbit flavor to it. And I'm married to a geek who's all about Lord of the Rings. This is his favorite fairy house too. Okay, so I'm going to give you a tip on how to roll out a coil. What I usually do is I take a sponge and I wet the table because my hands are going to dry out the clay. To get a good coil, start by twisting the coil, okay? And you want to put your pressure either going forward or going back, but not both directions. That's, if you're doing both directions, you will end up having a square. But if it starts to square off on you, literally twist it, okay? So let me just roll this guy out really quick. And yeah, try to keep it even. It doesn't matter if it's not, because this is a fairy house. So, all right, so I've got a coil, way longer than I need, but, so I'm going to come in here. Actually, let's go this direction. Nope, this direction. Little new to the videoing, so we're learning. You're learning, I'm learning. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I am going to score it. This is my thatch. So I am going to score it. Don't worry about how far down you're going to go, because you're going to be adding windows and doors, and you can clean up if you go down too far. But what's really cool about this is because you're adding the thatch, when it dries, you can get these little goobers off, you know, or leave them, because the glaze, they're not sharp, and the glaze, it just adds to the texture of the roof. So score that really well. It doesn't matter which direction. Then I'll take my coil. I got a bucket of water here, and I will literally just dip my coil in my bucket. So now I'm going to place the coil around the house. I go up, down, and then once I get it on here, then I will, let's see, we need to go up again. So I'm going to go ahead and join this, and I just do a diagonal cut there and put that together. Like I said, I'm working with soft clay, so I'm not even going to score that. So now I'm going to make sure this is how I want it around. So one of them I want to be bigger than the others, because that's going to be for the door, and the others are going to be for the little windows. So it's kind of like that, kind of makes a little wonky square, okay? All right, make sure I've got that. And I don't tend to keep things even with fairy houses, but for this one I do. Now, favorite little wooden tool that looks like a little baby finger. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to join these, and I'm going to push that into the roof. okay? This is why I thought this might be a two-parter, because this kind of stuff is what takes a while. It's joining, making sure everything's joined really well. Yeah, I do fairy houses that look like they're tree stumps, look like they're flowers or seed heads. If you go onto my Instagram, I'm not the best at posting pictures. Usually these fairy houses are gone the minute they come out of the kiln. I have the broken ones, or the ones that don't make it. They're in my garden, of course, but that's okay. But they're super, super fun, especially with all the different things that are out there now with silicone molds and stuff. It would be a good idea to actually have a cushion to work on, or a towel. You could set this down and make sure you're seeing what I'm doing. I'll get involved in what I'm making and time goes by and I'm not paying any attention to what's around me, and of course filming it, I should probably pay attention. So I am going to go all the way around and smooth that in. Make sure I got a good connection. Feel free to fast forward through this. In fact, maybe I'll figure out how to do that so you don't have to watch me smooth this all down. Let's see. All right, there we go. Getting there. Almost there, guys. Hang in with me. I do a lot of roofs that are just made from leaves, you know, made to look like they're petals of a flower. It's really, there's so much you can do. So then I'll come in here with my brush and smooth all that down. So get that nice and smooth, no sharp edges. Anything that's sharp, it will be razor sharp by the time it's glazed. Nice thing to remember with pottery, whether you're working on the wheel or hand building, gotta watch how sharp things are. Okay, so I got that one smooth, so now I'm going to smooth the inside next to when you're working with soft clay, it goes a little faster. But for videoing, it's probably not going fast enough. So you're probably wondering, well, wait a second, you just ruined your thatched roof. No, I didn't. Because that was just the beginning, and the thatch roof actually worked out really well to help score this on. So now I'm going to come in here. You can either take my sponge and just kind of smooth this some more. My finger. Your fingers, potter's fingers, there's some great tools out there, but the best tool is your fingers. Always the best tool. So you can feel so much about what the clay is doing, whether you're wheel throwing or hand building. With just the tip of a finger. It's pretty amazing. So like these scratch marks that I put in here, super easy to just smooth those out, okay? So I don't ever worry about them. Plus we are putting windows and doors on here. But I'll go ahead and smooth them out. Here's my brush. Get in there. Just help to lay those back down. This friend of mine that orders these, she's been ordering them. We've been doing her Christmas for years. I don't even know exactly over 7, if not closer to 8 or 9. And to be one of her friends, I tell you, she orders a fairy house. She's got this group of friends, and they get a new fairy house every year. I mean, that's the kind of friend you want, right? So, not to mention, she's just an amazing woman. So I'll just smooth that some more with my finger. Then I'm going to come in with scoring tool and take all that smoothness out. So I'm going to come in here and add all that thatch back and just rough it up. So we want it to look like an old English cottage with the thatch. So if you can't get in with that, you can do it with a needle tool too in some of the places that you can't get in. I actually have another scoring tool that makes it a little easier for spots. But just scratch it, and it looks better if you're not trying to make it perfect. The rougher you can be, the better it actually looks. Which is good, because that's pretty much how I work. I'm pretty much, when I make things, they evolve as I make them. That's one of the fun things about doing the fairy house. These, of course, I've made before. And this is the first time I've ever duplicated something I've made when it comes to a fairy house. Usually they're all one of a kind, individual. And of course there'll be slight differences on each one of these. So, I mean, you just can't make them exactly the same, which is what's super cool about pottery. Even when you're throwing production mugs and measuring and all that, there's always a slight difference, which to me is what's really amazing. You can tell that it's handmade, that somebody actually had their hands on it. So there'll be slight differences with these guys, but this form is actually, for a fairy house, they're the most similar I've ever done. So I'm scoring the underneath part, the eaves, I guess, is what you would call it. I actually love to build. I love building in wood. I love building in pottery. Okay, so we have our scratched up little roof. Isn't it cute? All right, so now we're gonna add the door. We already scratched up our door. So we're gonna add some slip. Here's my goopy, smelly slip. It looks like a different color, same clay body. It turns a different color when it's been sitting for a while because all those organics and mold or whatever, the really good stuff is growing. So I gotta pick which one of these I want the door, which one of these arches is gonna be my door. So I think it's gonna be this one. So lay your door that's all slippy where you want it. And I actually like the stones to go all the way to the top on the door. And so the slip is transferred, kind of gives me an idea where I'm going to score. See, there's another reason why I don't worry too much about the stuff I'm doing, the scoring, the mess I'm making of this sphere that I spent so much time smoothing, because I'm going to rough up a whole bunch of it. As you know, that those of you that do a lot of hand building, I think most of the hand building is cleaning up what you've done. You're constantly cleaning. All right, let's see if we can get this on film. So I'm going to put my door there, bringing it up to the top. Now, when you're adding something like this on, start with the middle, work your way up and over. Okay, since it's a fairly big piece and you do not want to have any air trapped, and you want that to have a good connection. All right, now we have our cute little door. So I'll come in here on the little joints. Oh, I hope you guys got to see that. Anyway, cute little door. And I'll also come in here with this tool and just smooth that down. Make sure I've got good connection to where it's not going to crack off. One of the reasons, even though I've had this order since March. In March, I had a total knee replacement, so been dealing with that this year. And actually, they messed up my total knee, so I get to have a reconstruction on it already this year because they messed up. Not too happy about that, so we don't want to talk about that. So I didn't get started on these fairy houses then, and then of course when I was feeling better, not great, but better, the weather was way too hot. You just can't make these fairy houses when the temperature is 100. And I don't have air conditioning, and I'm in Utah, so humidity is like almost non-existent. So I had to wait till it cooled down, and it's been raining this week. It's been amazing. So I like to emphasize the doorknob. This is my best tool for doorknobs. So I just come in here and press it in, and I have a cute little doorknob. And I will be cutting that heart out, but I don't cut those out just yet. So just how I did the door, I did windows, but I made them ahead of time. Hopefully, since these guys take so much time to do, I was hoping to make the video a little shorter. So here's my window, and the window is from this mold that I sprayed little Pam into. So I will score the back of the window, and I know that it's going to go here. So I'll go ahead and just roughly score where it's going to go. And then slip it. And then press that on there. Again, you want to start in the middle, work your way top to bottom, side to side, get all that air out, and then go around all your edges, making sure that that's down. Now, normally I would spend some time and smooth this, but you don't want to be here all day. So I can also smooth later. So we're going to go ahead and do the other window. I have a total of 3 windows and 1 door on this fairy house. This, and it's a good idea if you're doing multiple windows, at least on this style, is to line those windows up. Make sure that you've got them all going about the same height. Otherwise, it would look a little funky. Now, when I do my tree trunk fairy houses, and if you want to see those, I gladly make those. They're actually some of my favorites. It doesn't matter if the windows line up or not, because it's a tree trunk. Okay, but this one's a little, this is probably the most formal type of fairy house I do. Okay, so score that up, and we'll get our last window on. We'll slip this guy. Okay, and then we'll line up the little window with its little buddies. Start in the middle, go up to the top, go down to the bottom, side to side, and then all the way around. Okay, so how adorable is this guy looking? Let me tip him. So there's its door. There's his little windows. Okay, so I'm actually going to, I'll smooth these down later off camera, but I want to get that slip out. I don't want this slip. If it's going to crack, it'll crack that slip, and I don't want to. So I'm going to get that out, and then I will smooth them down more and get any little thatch marks that are still here off where I don't want them. Sorry, I'm getting out of the frame again. All right, so now we need to cut into it. I'm bringing a chair over. We're getting serious now. Knives are coming out. All right. So, in fact, let me see if I can actually move you to where you can. So sorry if this makes you sick. We'll get you down closer to what I'm doing here. See if that works. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and now one thing about cutting, and I actually got this tip from Sally Roper in Jamaica, and she's on YouTube, and it was such a helpful tip. I've been doing this, got started in pottery in 1983, took about a decade break when I was having kids, and then got back into it when my youngest went to kindergarten. So I've been doing this for a very long time and had never heard this tip. So, especially with these windows, it was really helpful. So when you're cutting into something, cut at a diagonal so that that clay, so I'm cutting at a 45 here. She does a lot of carving on her pots. She just makes some amazing stuff. So check her out too. Plus, she's in Jamaica. Can you imagine doing pottery outside in Jamaica? Oh. And then switch that knife, doing another 45 on this other side. And same thing, 45 at the top. It makes such a nice, cleaner cut because you're not seeing those sharp edges when you're looking through the window. And I'm only going to cut one of these guys out to show you, and then we'll move on. And I'll cut the rest later. So I'm cutting down now at a 45. Okay, now that I've got them all cut, let there be light. We're gonna push, well, I guess I didn't cut all the way through. So let's see. There we go. You know what? We're going to take the pin. My window's actually wet, so it might be a good idea to give those windows a little time to stiffen up. Makes it a little cleaner cut, but we'll get it done. Come on. Let me just go around these one more time just to make sure I got all the way through. We're actually cutting through the window plus the, actually let's use one of these. The window plus the actual house. There we go. Come on, drop it. So we're cutting through probably a ½ inch of clay to make these windows. This actually would make a great incense burner too, because we will be adding a chimney. So many fun things to do with these fairy houses. They can go in the garden, they can go in the house. There we go. And then I'll come back and sharpen those up. Clean all the goobers out of the windows so that they're clean. Clay is definitely about the best time to do certain things. So like cutting these windows, I would benefit from waiting. So we are going to wait on the others. But anyway, that gives you an idea of how to do it. But using that 45 really does a great job of making that window not look quite so thick and also cleaner. So just know that, well, you can see here how the windows are all cut out, little hearts cut out on the door. And this is a different door on this one than this other door. This is this door that I've actually used the stones of this door to go around. I actually just cut out the stones and then added it to the door. And I have one right here for one of the others. They got to be a little different. They can't all be the same. So I basically just added the stones, smoothed it onto the back, and now we have this size, this type of door. So some of them are going to have different doors. That's just how I roll. All right, so let's go ahead and do the chimney. So this is an MK roller. You can get this at ceramic store. You can get them at Sandbow, I think sells them. Sheffield Pottery, you can get them all different pottery places. So I'm just going to roll this into a little bit of extra clay. It gives me this nice little cobblestone. And then I take a ruler. Oh, let me reach as I drop stuff, of course. So I take a ruler and I cut my chimney. And my ruler is literally the width, or the chimney is the width of the ruler. Smooth the edges down just so, again, nothing sharp. And then this, I just round it around until I figure I've got the shape I want, the circular shape. And then I'll come in here and do a diagonal cut. Take all those little pieces out. Grab my scoring tool. Score the edges. Slip them. And then join them together. And the really cool thing about this cobblestone is that you don't really see the joint. So there's my joint on the inside. I'll come in and smooth that. Smooth the top. Smooth the bottom. And then I will come in between the stones. We're going to be adding flowers and a butterfly to this, so I'm not too concerned about that. So there is my little chimney. Let me smooth that down a little bit more. I'm actually going really fast on this, trying not to, because these do take a while. So I'm going to score that. Bring my house back. Let's actually, I think I need to give you guys a little bit of room here. Okay. So I got my house, and what's really cool about the thatched roof is I don't need to score that roof. So score the bottom of it, and then I usually line it up with the door. You kind of want it in the center. It's okay if it doesn't get in the center. And then I just put it on. I'll take this tool and go around the inside. Make sure it's on really well. I don't really take that tool on the outside because I want that definition. I don't want it to be really smoothed in, but I will take the brush and come in here and smooth down that slip. And if it needs to be pressed down a little bit more into the roof, I will do it usually with my fingers. But I kind of like the definition from the thatch to the cobblestone, the stone roof or the stone chimney, because they wouldn't have the thatch and the chimney be blended together. I mean, how are you going to do that? So if I smoothed out some of my thatch, easy enough to come in and do that. So now I'm gonna take a knife, go in here and cut my chimney. So this allows, if you're burning a candle or you're burning incense, you will have smoke coming out of your chimney. And just let that dry. Then I will just blend those together with the chimney so that it's nice and smooth. And this way, also, if anybody picks it up by the chimney's not going to pop off. Okay, now just round that out. Okay, now the fun stuff. Well, the decoration. Technically, we've already really decorated, but I'm going to show you how to do some flowers. How much time am I on? Oof. You know what? I think we'll stop here because we're already way too long. And then I'm going to do a part 2 on these amazing fairy houses and show you how to make the flowers and finish it off. Okay? Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you start making your own little fairy houses, I would love to see them. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hobble Creek Pottery. I don't post as much as I probably should because I'm busy playing in the clay. Hope you have a great day, and I hope you can get into the studio. Bye.